What's going on today, guys? Welcome back to the show. I am Alan. I'll be hosting the NBA slate for today's games. We got a wonderful 8-game slate on this amazing Saturday. Hope everyone's weekend is going to go great here. I know a lot of people coming back from the holidays and reality is about to hit, so enjoy this weekend. Let's do what we do best. Let's go through the entire slate. I'll be going through the entire 8-game slate breakdown, see where the money is, see where the public's at, and then at the end, I will give you guys my 5 favorite player props of the day. So stay tuned for that. Let's get this rocking. But you know what we got to do. We got to go through the recap. Without a recap, what's the show? So we have this here. I was not able to do a video yesterday, but I did still post in my Discord that's completely free the entire plays from yesterday. Let's look at the results from this. Man, we went 12 out of 16 here. Milwaukee, we missed it by -1.5. I had them posted at -1.5, and they only won by 1. That's why it's laughing there, because that's just crazy. All right, but everything else looked good. Washington money line went under. Spurs, Denver, Atlanta kept it under the game. Pelicans was a little bit of a toss-up there. I thought it would be a coin flip. You know, when I got Washington's money line, it was +100, and I got it before all the injury report for Brooklyn that came out. So we still got it on plus money and posted in the Discord with plus money. However, the New Orleans Pelicans, I was going to pair it with them because I thought they would have a good chance, but Portland is just running through people, man. They are surprising me. They're one of the teams that every time I bet against them, they win. Every time I bet with them, they lose. I got to stay away from them. So that's one of the things I'm starting to realize here. But either way, as you guys can see, all of this was posted in the Discord. Again, completely free. I'm going to be as transparent as possible. Give you guys the wins, the losses, the bigs, the hits, and more, right? So as you guys can see, we had a pretty good day. If you guys tailed me or tailed any of these plays, 9 times out of 10 you cash. We had a 75% hit rate on these, and so we're going to try to do it again here. So let's dive deep into the slate. I got some good games for you guys, got some good insights and more. So let's dive into it here. So first things first, we got the Minnesota Timberwolves against the Miami Heat. Miami is at home, sitting at +125 as the underdogs here. Minnesota's sitting at -130 as the favorites, sitting at -2.5 as the spread, and then over under 240. So that's the total there. As you guys can see, majority of the public is on Minnesota. Don't blame them at all. I think Minnesota takes this game as well. But I can't not look at Miami as well. Miami's last 4 games, they've won their last 4. They beat really good teams. They beat Denver. They beat the Pistons. They beat Pacers. And then they beat Atlanta. And I think Trae Young was playing that game. I could be wrong. Complete mistaken. But these are pretty good teams, winning back-to-back. They're playing at home. This could be a toss-up here. I know a lot of people think they're going to lose, and it makes sense. Minnesota does have the better team, in my opinion, so they should win. So I am typically with the public, but this could be a good spot where the Miami Heat upsets. Because if I look at the last games from Minnesota, they lost against Atlanta, they lost against Brooklyn, they lost against Denver, they beat the Chicago, which is good, and then they beat New York, which is good as well. But looking at the teams they lost to, Atlanta, Brooklyn, what are we doing here? So they are due for upsets as well against teams that you are at least expecting them to lose by or lose to, right? So I do like Miami to upset here. I would say sprinkle on that plus money, +125. That's not a bad one. And if they win, they also will cover that spread as well. Makes the most sense. Now, looking at the over-under here, 240 is just too high for me. I know a lot of people in the public is on that under. I think I'm going to stick with the public as well. Sticking under that 240 just makes the most sense. I mean, I know both teams are very high, high speed, fast pace. They both can score, and a lot of Miami have been, doing their thing as of late when it comes down to things like that. But I will say they just played in Detroit a couple days ago. They're on the travels to some degree, and so I'm not too sure. I will say, I mean, both teams do have rest. They have about 2 to 3 days of rest for the most part, but 240 is a lot. So I think I'm with the public here. I would fade the total, get it at maybe, if you guys do like the over, maybe at 234.5, 235, but I'm going to stick with that over under at 240. So that's what I'll be looking at for that game. Now, let's jump into the next game here. I'm going to try to go quick because it is a big slate here. But we got the next game. We got Philly and New York. Now, this game here is going to be probably one of my favorite ones to target when it comes to player props and honestly just the game to watch. This is going to be a really good game in my opinion. We got Philly who's been ramping up. Embiid even just went on public and said that he's starting to feel like his old self again, which you guys know what that means. 30, 30, 30 points, baby. Let's get it going. He was my wagon last year, and hopefully he ramps up to continue to be my wagon. So I had to kind of take him away from the wagon and put Wemby, because Wemby's been my crazy wagon this year. But either way, Embiid, if he plays, I know it's kind of a back-to-back for him. So if he plays, it's going to be a great spot to target him, in my opinion. If he also does play, that's also, I know people love Cat. This might be some questionable, plays when it comes to Cat as well, because Embiid is a foul merchant. He can get people to foul, and if Cat has his matchup, he can get Cat a foul and 2 fouls in the first quarter. So just something to keep in mind. If he does not play, I do like Cat to target, maybe even for rebounds. So that's something to keep in mind as well. So I say all this to say this is going to be a good game. Now, let's look at the odds here. We got the New York Knicks sitting at minus 145. Philadelphia sitting at plus 143, plus 140. It's very close here. It could be really a toss-up game. I know a lot of people are on the Knicks. I'm on the Knicks as well, but very close. Spread sitting at minus 2.5. Over-under sitting at 233.5. So pretty mid-scoring game, about 110, 115 each. Now, let's check out the last 5 games for these teams. So, Knicks went on a win streak, but then they lost their last 2. They lost against Atlanta yesterday, and they lost against Atlanta, and Jalen Johnson didn't even touch 20. He got his triple-double, yes, he was performing, but he didn't even touch 20 points. And Jalen Johnson, I feel like, is one of those players, especially if Trae Young doesn't play, that they're going to need scoring like crazy, and they still beat the Knicks. And they beat them in front of the Knicks fans. So the Knicks fans are coming back today, looking at everything and saying, if you guys lose again in front of us, we're going to be pissed. And I know the Knicks aren't going to do that or going to let that happen so easily. So I think I am with the public here when it comes to the Knicks money line. I don't hate that in the slightest. And they lost their last 2. They are due for a win. So I am on the Knicks money line heavy on this game, and it's pretty good odds. Minus 145 is not bad at all. But at the same time, I do think when it comes down to something like this, a plus 3.5 for Philly is just not. It's just too close for me. It's one of those things that's like sitting at, a toss-up 3-pointer or whatsoever. I think the Knicks can win by 3 or more. So I do like the Knicks to cover that 2.5 spread. So I would say take Knicks minus 2.5 is my favorite play. And then I do like the under for this game, under 233.5. So those are my predictions for that game. Let me know in the comments what you guys like, don't like. But this is going to be the game that I do watch and probably pick up a few player props as well. Now let's jump into the next game here. We got Atlanta versus Toronto. Toronto being at home. Now the Toronto, I believe they've been sitting for a while. The last time they played was on New Year's. It's been 3 days since. So they do have a couple days of rest. And the Atlanta Hawks are coming off of a back-to-back. They played the Knicks, and now they're traveling to Toronto to play. So this is going to be a game where that's something to keep in mind. And as you can see, the public is on that as well. They also have R.J. Barrett ramping back up. They have some dogs like some Brandon Ingram action. They have Scotty Barnes, who just came from that 25-rebound, triple-double game. And he's been stepping up as well. So the Toronto Raptors are pretty stacked, and they're playing really well, in my opinion. I know. Let me check out their last 5 just to make sure. They lost against Denver, but they only lost by a 3-pointer. So that's very close. They did beat Orlando. They beat them by 1, but they played till the end, and they beat Golden State, and then they beat Miami. So these are pretty good teams to beat, and them being at home, a couple days of rest, I do think they take this away. So I am with the public here, even with a good minus 155. I don't hate that. Maybe pair it with the Knicks, Knicks money line. Toronto Knicks money line might be a good play to kind of put together. I don't hate that in the slightest. Now, when it comes down to it, Atlanta Hawks are sitting at that plus 4. That's a toss-up too. Atlanta could keep it close. Whenever Trae Young doesn't play, they do tend to play better. They are ramping up off of that win from the Knicks. So I don't mind them keeping it close. If I were to do an alternate or be, safer, I would say Atlanta plus 9.5. It might be a little juiced, but I do think they keep this under 10. I don't know about under 4. It's just so close, but I do like plus 9.5 if you guys want to alternate the line there. Now, looking at the over-under, I do think both teams can score fairly high. For the over-under at 235, that just means they would both have to score about 115 each, and then obviously one team score more. It's not impossible, so I don't mind it. and a lot of the public is on the over as well. I don't hate that. 235, I think both teams can hit that, even with the traveling overnight. So that's what I'll be on. Let's see what happens. Now, going to the Chicago. No, it is Chicago. Going against Chicago and Charlotte game here. Chicago sitting at home. Chicago are the favorites, but the public does not think so. Charlotte is plus 105 underdogs. The the spread sitting at plus 230 or 2.5. I'm sorry, and then the over under is sitting at 239.5. So it's very high total. That means both teams would have to score 120 each. Very high. Something to keep in mind there. Now, this might be a good game to play, and when it comes to player props, Brandon Miller's been stepping up. Constantinople, Miles Bridges had a great game yesterday. Now, the one thing I do want to mention is that the LaMelo Ball, I had him to get 15 points and rebounds. He could get 15 points himself. It was minus 1,100, and there was something going on with the LaMelo Ball and the coaching. He would play for like a minute, 2 minutes, and then sit for 5 or 6 every single quarter. And that's really questionable to me. A star like that. The game was tied as well against Milwaukee, and he still wasn't even in the game until the last 3 minutes, the last 4 minutes of the game in the fourth. That's very questionable. So I'm going to be keeping my eyes close on this, because if LaMelo sits, that makes even more of a reason. Okay, maybe he was injured, maybe he was sick, maybe he was bumping heads with the coaching, and I know coaching has a lot to dictate when it comes to playing players and sitting them. But if he plays, and he plays a lot of minutes for this game, I know something was up for last game, and that makes it very questionable to me, and it makes me think very untrustworthy things about my Charlotte Hornets, which is not good. I do not want to think of them like that, but that was very questionable stuff that was going on with LaMelo Ball. If you guys saw it or were in tune of what was going on, please tell me in the comments. If you know more insight than I do, please tell me in the comments. I would love to know more. But if you agree with what I'm saying, let me know that as well. So let's dive into the slate here. Again, minus 116 Chicago sitting at home. I do think Chicago wins this game. Charlotte has lost their last 3, and I know I've said all the time when teams are do have regression, they are due for progression. But Charlotte Hornets are not one of those teams that can ramp up wins. They get a win every now and then. It's pretty sporadic. This is a good place for them to win. Obviously, the public thinks so, but I do think Chicago takes this one. I mean, Charlotte just played last night. So did Chicago, but Chicago stayed home. So no traveling. They just chilled. When the game was over, they went back home. Whereas Charlotte, on the other hand, they went from Milwaukee, they lost, and now they're traveling. And they lost very close. It was a 1-point game. So maybe they ramp up. I'm not too sure. But honestly, looking at everything, especially fading the public here, I think I'm going to go with Chicago with the money line. And then I do like them to cover. I mean, the cover is only minus 1.5. And it's funny because yesterday I picked Milwaukee to win by 1.5, and they only won by 1, so it did not cover that spread. Crazy. But if you guys do like Charlotte a lot, I would recommend doing an alternate spread, maybe at plus 6.5, plus 7.5. If they do lose, they're not going to lose by more than 5, in my opinion. And they also, again, could upset. That's where a lot of the public's on. So something to keep in mind. Now let's look at the over-under. Let me see what I can give you guys here. Over-under 239.5. That is a very high-scoring game. Obviously, a lot of the public is on the under as well. I don't hate that in the slightest. So go ahead and do that. Do the under as well with the public. I don't hate that in the slightest. But I will say I'm going to fade the public and pick Chicago to win this game outright. Now, let's go to the next game here. We got Portland versus San Antonio Spurs. San Antonio Spurs are at home, and San Antonio Spurs has been one of my favorite wagons this year. Wemby's been doing his thing. He just keeps getting injured. Stephon Castle is a bucket. Dylan Harper is a bucket. De'Aaron Fox is doing his thing, a bucket. So San Antonio Spurs have been very, very good this year. Looks like they're trying to be like back in the day, Tony Parker and Tim Duncan back in the day, right? So trying to build up and keep that legacy alive. But either way, they're going against Portland. Now, I will say, I'm going to pick the Spurs here. But whenever I pick the Spurs or against Portland tends to get me upset. They always win every time I bet against them, and then when I bet with them, they always lose. So I'm going to keep that momentum. I'm probably like 0 for 9 at this point, but that's okay. I'll go 0 for 10 if it is what it is. So I'm still going with the Spurs here. The spread's sitting at minus 7.5 or plus 9, depending on the books, and then the over-under sitting at 237.5. So very high-scoring game. I'm going with the Spurs all the way. Spurs just played, but they stayed at home. Both teams just played. But again, Portland's traveling. Spurs are at home. I think Spurs take this away. They didn't have to go anywhere. So Spurs all the way. They are minus 350, so it is fairly juiced. But I still say pick that if you guys are feeling good. Now, looking at the spread, I do think Portland can keep this game close. I would say pick Portland plus 9.5. I think they keep this game under 10, but I do not think they win. And then over under here, a lot of people are on the under for this game. I don't hate that, but I do think both of these teams can score. They have been surprising me. Portland has. Denvi Avdia is going off. He's almost getting a triple-double, getting more assists than even rebounds at the size that he is, and playing very well. So they have a good squad here, but I can't trust them. So I'm going with the Spurs, and with this game, I think I may go with the public as well for the under. 237.5 is just a lot. But if they do hit this is going to be a great game to target when it comes to player props. So keep that in mind. Now, going to the next game here, we got Houston versus Dallas. Houston is the massive favorites, minus 320. Dallas at home at plus 270. And then the over-under, I'll go through the over-under. Over-under is at 225.5, and then the spread sitting at plus 8.5 in Dallas's way. So there's something to keep in mind. This is a funny one here because people are picking Dallas money line. They're probably picking it just because of the odds. They're at home. They're due for a win. Houston's won their last 4. Dallas have lost their last 4. They're probably saying, again, that regression kind of mindset. I do think Dallas could squeak by somewhat of a win. And it's funny too because majority of people are on Dallas to win. This is what I'll say. With Dallas being plus 270, and majority of the public is on it, that's going to be a big payout for Vegas. Now, with Houston covering minus 7.5, and a lot of people are on the Houston, if they cover, that's going to be a lot of payout. But here's the middle ground when it comes down to something like this. Dallas being under with the spread and not winning would make Vegas the most money. So what I would say here is do a Dallas plus 8.5 or even a Dallas plus 9.5. Be extra safe. I think they cover. They're not going to lose by 10. And then when it comes to the over-under, I think this game goes under. I'm going to fade the public throughout this entire game. This game kind of is a question mark over my head here, but I think Dallas can keep it close. I think it's going to go under 226.5. If you want to be extra safe, 229.5, go under that. But I do think Dallas keeps this close under 10. So that's what I'll be saying for this game. Now, let's jump into the next game here. We have Utah versus Golden State. I'm sure all the players are going to be playing. Golden State was sitting Steph. They sat Draymond. I believe Kuminga was still sitting. So there's a lot of underdog players playing in this game or in the game yesterday. But I think Steph Curry plays this game, and it probably makes the most sense and Jimmy Butler, because they are minus 500 to win. They're at home. They are rested, because the Stars didn't play, so they are rested. And then Utah Jazz are plus 460. Spread sitting at 12.5, plus 12.5 in Jazz, and then over-under sitting at 243.5. This is a very high-scoring game. Both teams averaging 120 each or so. I think this is going to be a great game for Steph, great game for Jimmy. So I would target both of those players. And when it comes down to something like this, I do like the Jazz to cover as well. I think I'm with the public here. They have covered a lot of their games. They've been surprising a lot of teams. They've been upsetting a lot of teams. So I don't see them losing by 12, especially by Golden State Warriors. Golden State has been mid throughout the entire season. They needed to add extra pieces to their team, in my opinion. They added Al Horford. And actually, I want to bring this up. I want to hear you guys' thoughts as well. Please tell me in the comments here. But I don't know if you guys heard what Steve Curry said yesterday when he was talking about how I'm going to sit players because of the team that we're playing against was Oklahoma City. Why would I play my star players at a team like that? We're going to lose regardless. And someone like Al Horford tried to join the Warriors to try to get another ring, to see what the culture's like, try to improve, be better. And you have Steve Kerr saying something like that. That's kind of suspect to me. I don't know. You guys tell me. Maybe there's a different reason, maybe a different perspective. I would love to hear you guys' insights. But for me, as a fan, that's a bad look. I'm not a big fan of him saying that. Because at the end of the day, people are paying to come watch these players. People are seeing them. They want to see wins. They want to believe. And if you're saying stuff like that, it's very hard for us to trust, right? As fans, at least from the outside looking in. So that's just my 2 cents. Love to know you guys' comments. Please tell me below. But either or, let's see what we can do here. So I'm going to say Jazz to cover plus 12.5. It's probably going to bite me in the butt just because the spread is, the odds are just massive, but it is what it is. And then I would say I'm going to fade the public here and go under for this game, 243.5. I'll say go under that. So that's my prediction for this game. And then we'll jump into the last game here to end the slate. We got Boston versus Clippers. Boston is the underdogs. They are plus 100. Clippers are the favorites, minus 116. The odds are so close. Minus 1.5 is the spread. Super close game, literally coin flip. And then over-under sitting at 219.5. So low scoring game. Now, I know a lot of people are going to be going with the over, as you can see most public is on. But this is something to keep in mind. I do think it goes over as well. However, something to keep in mind, the Clippers have kept every single team they've played in the last 5 games under 110 points. And keep in mind, to get that 219.5, both teams would have to score about 110 each on average, okay, or at least touch 100 points. They held the Sacramento Kings to 90 points. They held Detroit under 100 points. It's a tough team to hold to 100 points there. Portland to 103, and they held Houston to 108. So this is going to be a great defending team. They get really great defending. They got Zubac back as well, so that's going to add to it, get rebounds. So I don't hate this game, or I do understand exactly why this game has the total that it has. It's super close. It's a toss-up. It's a toss-up. But I will say I am with the public here at the 219.5. So I don't hate that in the slightest. Now, when it comes to picking who do I think is going to win, I'm going to fade the public all in all. I think it's going to be Boston to win this game. The reason why is because, again, progression mentality. The Clippers have won their last 5. Boston is a top 3 in the East. And Jaylen Brown just went on stream the other day. I think it was yesterday. I say the other day. I think it was yesterday. Where he was talking about how he felt like he deserved being player of the month, which if you guys compare the numbers, there is conversation to that. You know, some people are like, oh, he was salty saying that, or I don't agree with that. It's a pretty valid argument. You know, whether you guys feel it was salty, whether you feel it was big-headed, whatever the case, it's still a valid argument. You know, if you leave emotions outside of it and look at the numbers, it's a valid argument. Someone could argue that and win the argument, right? Now, if you have a good someone, can give a better one, sure, I'll take that. But if you are a player in the NBA and you think you are the best, that's not a bad thing to say, in my opinion. I don't think that's a bad thing to say. If you truly believe in yourself and you have the data and the numbers back it up, why not talk your stuff, right? So that's what I like there. But either way, I do think Boston takes this away. Plus 100 is a great spot to take that plus odds. Even at the plus 2.5, it's just so juiced. I wouldn't even worry about the spread, in my opinion, in this game. I think I'm going to take Boston Celtics outright. And then I do like the over in this game too, so I am with the public here. So I hope those going through that slate helps. Let's dive into my 5 favorite player props, and let's get this ball rolling so we can get you guys cashing out on this amazing Saturday. Let's jump into it. All right, so let's jump into the player props here. We got my 5 favorite player props. This is a 12.5x on Prize Picks if you want to build it on there. And obviously you can build it anywhere else, try to get a boost. But this is what we're looking at for today's slate. So we got Jalen Johnson, 19.5 points. RJ Barrett, 14.5. Daniel Gafford to get over 1 turnover. I know it's a weird prop, but I'll show you exactly why I picked it here in a second. Klay Thompson, over 9.5 points plus assists. And Kawhi Leonard, under 28 points. Now, let me jump through these entire reasons why I picked these players here and show you what we're going to be cashing today. So first things first, let's go over the Jalen Johnson, 19.5 points. I think he can score this. He missed it yesterday by 2 points, and I think this is going to be another game right here. I know it's off the back-to-back. I know he's traveling, but I think this is a game where he continues to prosper and continues to move up and continues to kill it. If they want to win, he's going to need to score at least 20. And Toronto Raptors are not a team to play with, so lackadaisical. I think he's going to need to step up. And if you guys can also see here, he missed it one game and then went right back going up there 20. So he's had a 6% hit rate on this. I think he keeps that going. So that's why I picked that one here. Now looking at RJ Barrett. RJ Barrett is ramping up his points back. He came from an injury, but he's ramping back up. He hit 17 points in his last game. And as you guys can see, he has a 70% hit rate hitting 15 or more. I think his regular line 16.5, 17.5, or whatever the case. I only bought it down 1 or 2 points, but I do think this is a good breakout game for RJ Barrett as well. So that's what I'll be rocking with there. Now, looking at Klay Thompson. Have you guys ever been in a world where Klay Thompson can't even score 10 points, and now his line is 9.5 for points and assists. His one assist on his props regular, one assist is a goblin. I think it's like minus 250, minus 200, which means in reality, this man only needs to score 9 points. That's 3 threes. Has there not been a world where Klay Thompson can't score 9 points, 10 points? I know as of late he has not been the best, but it's still Klay Thompson at the end of the day. This is still a good matchup for him as well. Houston may leave him alone a little bit, even though Houston does have really good defensive players. They can probably put a lot of stop to him. I get all that. But it's Klay Thompson. He's also had this 70% of the time he's hit this, minus 119 in the odds, and I'm going to be riding this wagon here. So if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Honestly, that's on a Klay Thompson at that point. But 9.5 points in his for points and assists, I'm taking this all day. So that's why I'm going with this one here. I just think it's a great look. And why did I go with Daniel Gafford to go over one turnover? Well, here's the thing. It's Houston. Houston has one of the best defensive teams. On top of it, this is going to be a low-scoring game as well. So it's going to be very high defensive or expected to be low-scoring. And it's minus 115. He's hit this 70% of the time. Weird play, but this is a great spot for him. He got Sengun down low, Kevin Durant down low, Amon Thompson even gets down low. Daniel Gafford, I think he's like in this game half of the season as well from injury. He's just coming back from injury just a little bit. And so I think this is going to be another spot. And if you guys also look at it, the last time he's had a turnover, he had it 4 straight games. He missed it twice. He missed it again the last game. So I think he's going to ramp back up, in my opinion. This is a great defensive team. This is going to be a team where he really has a very prone spot to turn over the ball at least once or twice. So I really do like this play. Probably one of my favorites. It's a weird play, but one of my favorites of the day. And lastly, we have Kawhi Leonard. Now, I'm probably going to get chirped like crazy for picking this, but this is the reason. Look, every player that's progressing like crazy is due for regression. His points are 28. He's not hitting 30 again. If he hits 30, that works out in my favor. Don't get me wrong. I do have him in fantasy, but he is due for a bad game. And also looking at it too, this game right here was estimated at 219.5. Keep this in mind. 219.5, low scoring game, going against Boston. I think this is going to be the game where he does not hit his 30. I know he has a 40% hit rate. I know a lot of people are probably like, I might leave this one off. And leave it off. That's perfectly fine. But I'm going to ride on this one. I'm going to stand 10 toes down on this. And I would not even be surprised if you guys see this line at 26, maybe 25.5 by the time this game starts. Because that's 10:30 Eastern. By the time this game starts and is low, just know we got it early. So that's what I'm going to be riding with. Those are my player props of the day. I hope this cashes. I hope you guys find some good knowledge out of all of this. If you guys tail it, let's cash. If not, if you guys fade, that's fine too. I hope you guys also cash. And let me know in the comments what you guys think about the entire slate. Let me know what you guys' insights on. Let me know what you guys are on and all that good stuff. But other than that, I appreciate you guys tuning in. Let's cash. Let's have a great Saturday, and let's keep it going. Thank you guys. I'll see you on the next episode. Later.